My wife smirked, "You'll thank me someday," while handing me divorce papers and his hotel key. For a second, all I could do was stare at the two things she just slid across our kitchen table like we were finalizing a business deal. On top was the stack of papers, clipped neatly, our names printed in cold black ink. Beneath it, tucked half under the manila folder, was a white plastic keycard with the hotel logo staring up at me like it recognized me. The same hotel from the credit card statement. The same hotel from the email I'd pretended not to see on her open laptop 2 months ago. My fingers hovered over the keycard but didn't touch it. They were shaking just enough that I didn't trust myself not to fling it across the room. "Go ahead," she said, leaning back in her chair, arms crossed over the oversized jumper she always stole from me. Her lips curled in that small, smug half-smile that used to be playful and now just made my skin crawl. "Might as well make it official. You like paperwork, right?" The fluorescent light above the table buzzed quietly. There was a ring of coffee on the wood from the mug she'd abandoned. My brain grabbed onto stupid details like that because the big thing, the fact that my wife, the woman I'd been with for almost a decade, was divorcing me and literally handing me the hotel key to the man she'd been sleeping with, was too big to look at directly. It was like staring at the sun. My mind skated around it and fixated on the way her nail polish was chipped at the edges, the way one of the pages was slightly crooked in the stack. We'd been married 8 years when my wife sat me down at our stupid wobbly kitchen table and did all of this like it was a step in some personal growth checklist. I'm 34M, she's 32F. I'll call her Anna for this post, though that's not her real name. The hotel key belonged to a guy I'll call Mark, 38M, who, up until a few months back, I thought was just her new coworker and not the man she'd decided was worth nuking our marriage over. If this reads chaotic, it's because my head still feels like someone's shaken up a snow globe and all the pieces of my life are floating around in slow motion. I'm on a throwaway account because my real one has my name all over it, and some of our mutual friends live on Reddit. I guess this is our true off my chest or our relationship advice material. I don't even know what I'm asking for exactly. Maybe I just need people who don't know either of us to tell me I'm not losing my mind. Anna and I met in the most boring, normal way possible. At work, I'm an engineer. She was in the marketing department of the same mid-sized company. We started on the same week, actually. She got introduced in the Monday morning meeting as our new marketing superstar, here to drag us into the 21st century, and I got introduced as the numbers guy who will finally fix all those spreadsheets we've been avoiding. Everyone laughed. She met my eyes across the conference room table and pulled a face like, "Wow, can you believe these people?" There's this cliche about marketing people being extroverted and engineers being awkward, and in our case, it was painfully accurate. I was the quiet dude who hung back and only spoke when I had something useful to say. Anna was light. She filled up space without sucking the air out. Of it, first week she was already organizing Friday drinks. She'd swing by my cubicle, lean against the partition and say, "You're coming, right? Don't make me be the only one there who knows the difference between RAM and ROM." On our first Friday drinks, she plopped down next to me at the pub, stole one of my chips without asking and said, "You're Tom, right? The guy who fixed the VPN on day 2. "That's me," I said, internally known as Wi-Fi Jesus, apparently. She laughed real and loud. "I like you," she said. "You're understated. I feel like your brain is doing stand-up all the time and we only get one joke out every hour." I remember feeling my ears go hot. "That's a very specific superpower," I said. We started having lunch together, then coffee breaks, then accidentally bumping into each other in the lobby at the end of the day and walking to the station together. She'd talk about how much she hated the phrase "girl boss," how she wanted to do real campaigns that actually mean something, not just slap a logo on a stock photo of smiling people in headsets. I'd talk about my side projects and how my family thought engineer meant I fixed washing machines. She asked me out, technically. It was a Thursday, it was raining, the vending machine had eaten my coins, and she handed me half of her chocolate bar and said, "So, weird question, but do you ever socialize outside of fluorescent lighting?" "I have been known to leave the building, yeah," I said. "Cool," she said, "because there's a band playing at this bar near my place tomorrow and I have an extra ticket, and if I ask anyone in marketing, they'll talk the whole time and I actually want to listen. Come with." I did. We had a good time. We kissed under flickering streetlight on the walk to the station. She tasted like beer and mint gum. My heart did that stupid flutter thing you think only exists in teenage movies. The beginning was good, really good. We're complete cliché opposites in some ways. She's spontaneous, messy, social. I'm organized, neat, introverted. But it worked. She pulled me toward the world. I gave her a place to land. She'd crash at my share house so often my roommates started calling her our fourth tenant. She'd scatter her toiletries in my bathroom, put her favorite mug in my cupboard, because yours are all depressing accountant grey, she'd say, even though I'm not an accountant. We created a little orbit around each other. 2 years in, we moved into our own apartment. White walls, ugly rental carpet, ancient stove. We were stupidly excited about it. We bought cheap furniture and spent 3 nights building a bed that wobbled ominously every time you sat on it. She stuck Polaroids of us on the fridge. With souvenir magnets from places we hadn't actually been to yet. Manifestation, she called it. We got married 3 years after that. Smallish gathering, nothing extravagant. I remember watching her walk down the aisle in this simple dress she'd found on sale and thinking, I didn't know it was possible to be this sure of something. My hands shook when I put the ring on her finger, and she squeezed my fingers like a secret promise. I'm in this with you, she whispered when our friends were clinking their glasses and yelling for a speech. For real. I believed her. Our early married years were ordinary, and I mean that in the best way. We worked, we cooked dinner together, we argued occasionally about whose turn it was to take the bins out and then made up before bed. We travelled when we could afford it. 3 days in Melbourne staying in a crappy Airbnb with a broken heater. A week in Bali where I got sunburnt so badly on day 1 that all our photos are of me in long sleeves. Anna used to say she loved how predictable I was. You're my constant, she'd say, head on my chest, some Netflix show playing in the background. I spent my whole 20s missing flights and dating men who forgot my birthday. This is nice, you're safe. I'm not going to lie, safe as a compliment did prick at my ego sometimes, but she said it with such obvious affection that I let it roll off. Stability was what she said she wanted. I was good at stability. The first big fault line appeared when she changed jobs. Our company got bought out. Half the marketing department was restructured, which is corporate for we're going to squeeze more work out of fewer people. She took a role at a bigger firm that did events and brand management for fancy hotels, among other things. More money, actual creative work, and free canapés, she said, waving the job offer in front of me. What's not to love? I was happy for her, honestly. It felt like a step up. We did the math on the whiteboard we keep in the kitchen. With her new salary in mind, we could maybe start saving for a house deposit. She bought a new blazer for her first day and modeled it in front of the mirror. I whistled, she spun, we kissed, stupidly proud of ourselves for being proper adults. The new job came with long hours and travel. It's events, she said. You can't run a conference from your couch. At first, it was manageable. She'd go away for a night or two, send me photos of hotel lobbies and ridiculous conference swag, call me from her room and complain about the tiny shampoo bottles. I'd send her memes and pictures of whatever monstrosity I'd cooked for dinner. We missed each other, in a good, healthy way. Then the trips got more frequent. It's just for this quarter, she said. We've got a bunch of launches on, but it'll calm down. Spoiler, it did not calm down. She started coming home later on non-travel days too. Last-minute client call, she'd say, dropping her bag by the door and heading straight for the shower. She'd be off sometimes, quiet or over-hyper like she'd had too much coffee. I'd ask how her day was and she'd say, same shit, different brand, and change the subject. I'm not proud of this, but I ignored the first few red flags because I didn't want to be that guy. The guy who interrogates his wife every time she's late. The guy who checks phones and locations and turns every work event into an accusation. Instead, I became the guy who noticed more than he acknowledged. The smell of a cologne that wasn't mine clinging to her scarf one night. The way she'd light up when a certain name popped up on her phone, then flipped the screen over. The hotel loyalty cards she suddenly had in her wallet, even though she used to make fun of that stuff. I first heard about Mark in passing. He's the new senior account manager, she said one night, absently stirring past a sauce. Knows everyone in the industry, total charmer, clients love him. That's good, right, I said, less pressure on you. She shrugged. He takes some of the load, she said, but he also creates more work because he keeps promising things we can barely deliver. He's intense. I didn't think much of it. I pictured some slick, suit-wearing corporate guy with a Bluetooth headset glued to his ear, a harmless cliché. The first time I actually saw Mark was when I picked Anna up from a post-conference dinner at a restaurant in the city. She said, we're probably going late, but I'd rather not Uber alone, is that okay? And of course I said yes. I parked outside and texted her, here. A minute later she came out with a small crowd of people from her team, all laughing. She looked great, hair loose, that black dress she knew I liked, blazer slung over her arm. She hugged a couple of people, then that guy stepped out with her, taller than me, expensive-looking suit, no tie, top button undone, confident, the kind of man who looks like he belongs wherever he is. This is my husband, Tom, Anna said, looping her arm through mine. Tom, this is Mark. Mark stuck out his hand with a practiced smile. Good to finally meet you, man, he said. Anna talks about you all the time. Thanks for lending her to us so much. I shook his hand, firm grip, eye contact, the whole thing. She's pretty great, I said. Ah, don't inflate my ego in front of my boss, Anna joked, elbowing him lightly. They all laughed. I drove her home. She was tipsy and affectionate, hand on my thigh on the gear stick, head on my shoulder at red lights. I remember thinking, okay, maybe I'm being paranoid, this is fine. The second wave of doubt hit a few weeks later, when I was going over our joint credit card statement like I always do at the end of the month. Yes, I'm that guy. Spreadsheet, color-coded categories, the whole nerdy package. A charge caught my eye. Harbor Key Hotel, $469, $2 nights based on the amount. Anna had been away that week, sure, but she told me her company was putting them up at the conference center attached to the venue, which was a different hotel entirely. I checked the dates again, checked my phone, searched my messages. On those nights, she texted me photos of a generic-looking hotel room and said, "View from my prison cell lol," with a crying laughing emoji. Hey, I called out, trying to keep my voice light. She was in the living room, watching some trashy reality show. Quick question, what hotel were you at for the conference again? She barely looked away from the TV. I don't know, the big one by the convention center, she said. Why? Just doing the statement, I said. I saw a charge for Harbor Key as well. That got her attention. She sat up a little straighter. Oh, she said quickly. Yeah, they messed up the booking. We had to move some people to the Overflow Hotel down the road. I put it on my card and expensed it. Should see it come back next pay. It was a plausible explanation. I wanted to believe it, so I did. Still, that night, lying in bed with her back pressed warm against my chest, my brain whispered, then why did she send you photos of the other hotel's room? I told it to shut up. The real unraveling started with an email. Anna is notoriously bad at closing browser tabs. I joke that our laptop wheels slowly every time she opens Chrome. One Saturday afternoon, she was in the shower and the washing machine beeped, so I went to grab my stuff out of it. On the way back, her laptop caught my eye on the coffee table. It was open to her email, the screen bright. I swear I wasn't snooping. I honestly went over to close it so the battery wouldn't die. But as I moved the touchpad, the screen woke up fully and there it was, right in the center, an email thread. Subject line, Harbor Key, thank you. The last message was from Mark. Couldn't have survived this week without you. Next time, drinks at the bar won't end so early. M. Below that, her reply, your trouble, but fine, as long as you keep dealing with the client when they try to move the goalposts. It could have been harmless flirting, it could have been nothing, but my stomach dropped like a stone anyway. When she came out of the shower, towel around her hair, humming, I was still sitting there like an idiot with the laptop closed and my heart racing. You okay? She asked, rubbing her hair with the towel. Yes, I lied, all good. I didn't bring it up. I told myself I was reading too much into it, that not every semi-flirty work email means an affair. I've seen enough Reddit posts to know that sometimes people do overreact. I didn't want to be one of them. Then COVID hit, and everything got weird anyway. Events were cancelled, then moved online. Anna started working from home, which I thought would be great. More time together, no late nights. Instead, she locked herself in the spare room with her laptop and ring light, running virtual conferences from a desk I'd assembled from IKEA instructions. I'd hear her laughing at something on Zoom, voice going soft in ways that made my skin prickle. She'd come out wired, stressed, and then disappear into her phone. One night I woke up at 2 a.m. and reached out for her, only to find her side of the bed empty. Light leaked under the living room door. I padded out, heart thumping in that irrational, is there a robber way. She was on the couch, curled up with her laptop, face lit by the screen. She jumped when she saw me. Jesus, Tom, you scared me, she said, snapping the laptop shut a little too fast. Couldn't sleep, I said. You. Just too many tabs open in my brain, she said. Go back to bed, I'll be there in a bit. Who were you talking to? I asked, glancing at the laptop. No one, she said quickly, just catching up on emails. At 2 a.m. on a Saturday, sure. I could feel the paranoid part of my brain waking up, sharpening its teeth, but I kept it quiet. We were all weird during lockdown. Everyone's patterns were off. When restrictions eased, Anna went back to traveling for essential in-person events. Mark did too. The first time she packed a suitcase again, she hugged me in the hallway and said, "This feels so strange, leaving after 2 years of being constantly in your way." You'll miss my thrilling commentary on spreadsheets, I said, trying to keep it light. I already do, she said. She kissed me, soft and lingering, and for a moment everything felt like it used to. That trip was to Harbour Quay again, the same hotel logo I would later see on the keycard she handed me. I drove her to the airport. We joked about her smuggling tiny shampoos back. She texted me when she landed. She called me from her room and described the view. She sent a photo of the hotel breakfast the next morning. Nothing seemed off. Then, a week later, I got a message from one of her colleagues. I don't know this woman well. I'll call her Jess. We met at a Christmas party once. She followed me on Instagram afterwards. That was the extent of our relationship. Her message popped up on my phone on a random Tuesday afternoon. Hey Tom, this is super awkward and please tell me to mind my own business if you want, but can I ask you something about Anna? I felt my throat tighten. Sure, I typed back. Is she okay? My brain scrambled. I think so. Why? It's just I thought you were on this harbor thing with her, she wrote, but then she said you were home. I am home, I replied. She's there for work, with the team. There was a pause, then, right, okay, sorry, I must have misunderstood something. Forget I said anything. Which, obviously, I could not do. When Anna got home 2 days later, I was waiting in the living room. Not dramatically, just sitting there, laptop closed, mind buzzing. She came in, suitcase rolling behind her, mask half off her face. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and smiled when she saw me. Hey, she said, why do you look like you're about to tell me someone died? We need to talk, I said, and hated myself immediately for the cliché. Her smile slid off her face. Okay, she said slowly, what happened? You tell me, I said, how was Harbour? It was fine, she said, cautious now. Exhausting, clients are assholes, why, who were you there with? She frowned. You know this, she said. My team, the usual. Jess messaged me, I said. I watched her reaction like a hawk. She asked if I was there with you. When I said I wasn't, she backpedaled so fast she might have left skid marks. Anna's face went through 3 emotions in about 2 seconds. Surprise, irritation, then something like fear. Jess should mind her own business, she muttered. That's not an answer, I said. What would have made her think I was there? We were talking about partners, she said quickly. I might have said something like Tom wishes he was here instead of stuck at home, or whatever. She probably misunderstood. I stared at her. Anna, are you cheating on me? I blurted. The room went very still. Her mouth opened and closed. For a second, she looked like she might laugh it off. Then she saw my face, and something in her changed. No, she said too quickly. Of course not. Where the hell is this coming from? I listed things because that's what I do. The late nights, the cologne, the emails, the hotel charge, Jess's message. I watched her grow increasingly defensive with each point. So now I'm not allowed to have work friends, she snapped. Now every time I go away, I'm automatically fucking someone. I didn't say that, I said, running a hand through my hair. I'm saying there are patterns and my brain is connecting dots and I don't like the picture. You need to trust me, she said. I'm trying, I said, but trust is a 2-way street and you keep introducing 1-way signs. We went in circles for an hour. She cried. I almost cried. She swore nothing physical had happened. I have a bit of a crush on him, okay, she confessed at one point, arms wrapped around herself. He's charming and he gets my work in a way you don't, but it's just in my head, I would never. Never, that word stuck to me. It felt heavy then. It feels light now, looking back, like a balloon you let go of. I suggested counseling. She agreed, eyes red, saying she hated that she'd made me doubt her. We found a couples therapist and did 6 sessions. We talked about communication styles, love languages, the usual script. She said she felt invisible sometimes, like my job came first. I said, felt like a placeholder in my own marriage when work events took priority over everything else. We both nodded in all the right places. We both cried. After each session, we'd get takeaway and sit on the couch afterwards, emotionally wrung out. We're doing the work, she'd say, leaning her head on my shoulder. That's what matters. Meanwhile, she kept traveling, kept working with Mark, kept locking her phone, which brings us back to the day with the divorce papers and the hotel key. It was a Friday, work-from-home day for me. I was at my desk in the corner of the living room, half listening to a podcast about some boring tech thing when Anna texted, "Can we talk tonight? I'll be home at 7. My stomach dropped. We need to talk is universal code. I replied, sure. She walked in around 6:45 instead. No suitcase this time, just her work tote and a manila folder tucked under her arm. She didn't kiss me hello, she didn't even shrug off her coat. She just said, "Can we sit at the table?" That table had seen bills, IKEA manuals, late-night pizza boxes. It had not seen this. She slid the folder across to me. I opened it. The first page was a cover letter from a law firm I'd never heard of, addressed to both of us. Words like joint application, irretrievable breakdown, property settlement swam in front of my eyes. I looked up at her. "What is this?" I asked, stupidly. "What does it look like?" she said. "It looks like divorce paperwork," I said. My voice sounded flat, even to me. "Then it's that," she said. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. It's pretty straightforward since we don't have kids. We can do it jointly, make it clean." "Clean," I repeated. "You want to cleanly end 8 years of marriage." Her expression flickered. For a second, she looked like the Anna who cried in counseling, who said she wanted to fight for us. Then the wall came down. "This isn't working, Tom," she said. "We've been pretending it is, but it's not. You know it too." "Do I?" I asked. "Because last month you were saying you were glad we were doing the work, that you didn't want to give up." "I meant it then," she said, "but things changed." "In a month?" She hesitated. Then, almost casually, she reached into her tote and pulled out the hotel keycard, placed it on top of the papers like a garnish. "That's his," she said, nodding at it. "Mark's. I told him I'd give it to you." I stared at the keycard, white plastic with that glossy Harbor Key logo. It looked innocent, generic, like any hotel key. "Why," I said slowly, "would you give me his hotel key?" She smirked, that little twist to her lips I used to find attractive, and now wanted to wipe off her face with a dishcloth. "Because you're going to go through your paranoia phase," she said lightly, like she was doing me a favor. "You're going to want to check, to confirm, to torture yourself with mental images. You might even be tempted to show up and cause a scene. At least this way, you can do it without having to sweet-talk the front desk." My chest felt too tight. "So you did sleep with him," I said. "Of course I did," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Tom, come on, you already knew." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. "No," I said. "I suspected. I connected dots. I begged you to be honest with me, and you swore you'd never cross that line." She shrugged, eyes cool. "I crossed it," she said. "Multiple times. You were right. Congratulations." I leaned back in my chair, numb. "How long?" I asked. My voice barely sounded like mine. "A year," she said, no hesitation. "On and off." "On and off," I repeated, because apparently I'd turned into some cruel echo, while we were in therapy. "Yes," she said. "While you were crying about feeling invisible," I said. "Yes." "While you were telling me you didn't want to give up on us." She broke eye contact then, gaze sliding away to the fridge, the cheap clock anywhere but my face. "I did want to," she said, "but staying in something that isn't working just because you made a promise is stupid. It's cowardly, actually. And cheating is." She bristled. "I made a mistake at first," she said. "I know that sounds cliché, but it was one of those we're drunk after a work thing and feeling sorry for ourselves situations. I regretted it. I did. But then, I realized how I felt when I was with him and how I felt when I was with you and—" She trailed off. "And," I prompted, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the rest. "And with him I felt alive," she said, of course using the exact word I'd dreaded months back. "Seen, like the version of myself I always wanted to be. With you I felt boxed in, like we were reenacting the same scenes over and over. Coupling, counseling, cooking, Netflix, sleep, repeat." I wanted to yell. I wanted to stand up, flip the table, scream that she'd been the one who wanted that life, that she'd said she was done with chaos and drama. But my body felt leaden. The words wouldn't come. "So you decided the solution was to have a secret affair, and then hand me divorce papers and his hotel key like a party favor," I said. "And you think I'll thank you someday?" She nodded calmly. "Yeah," she said. "I do. You'll be free. You won't have to be responsible for my happiness anymore. You won't have to drag around someone who clearly wants a different kind of life." "I never asked you to make me responsible for your happiness," I said. "I asked you to be my partner, to talk to me when you were unhappy instead of auditioning replacements in conference rooms." She rolled her eyes slightly. "You act like I didn't try," she said. "I told you I felt stuck. I told you I wanted more. You said we could book a weekend away when we had the budget. You said we should focus on the house deposit. You turned everything into a 5-year plan." "So your plan was what? A 5-year plan with him?" She shifted in her seat. "We're figuring it out," she said. "We," I repeated. "So this is serious then, not just one thing led to another." She shrugged again, but there was a hint of softness around her eyes that hadn't been there a moment before. He gets me, she said quietly, in a way you don't. There it is, every betrayed partner's least favorite sentence. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Funny, I said. 8 years, and I thought I did know you. Turns out I knew the version you were willing to show me between flights. We argued more, or tried to. It felt less like a fight, and more like mutually reading out the autopsy report of our marriage. She accused me of being emotionally unavailable. I pointed out that she'd been very emotionally available with someone else's husband. Yes, because that's another part I haven't mentioned yet. Mark is married, with 2 kids. I found that out later that night, of course, when I used the cursed keycard. Not to barge into their room and make a scene like she'd insinuated, but to stand in the lobby, staring at the directory, looking at his last name, and the fact that a woman and 2 small children checked in under the same booking last school holidays. The receptionist confirmed it without realizing what she was confirming. It was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. I didn't confront him, I thought about it. I imagined all the ways it could go, and none of them ended with me feeling less humiliated. Instead, I went back to my car, sat in the dark underground car park, and cried for the first time since my grandfather's funeral. Full-on, ugly, chest-heaving sobs that fogged up the windows. When I finally went home, Anna was already in bed. She didn't ask where I'd been. Maybe she assumed I'd done exactly what she'd predicted. Over the next few days, we started the process of disentangling our lives with a kind of numb efficiency that scared me. She had already talked to a lawyer, already filled in half the forms. We can sell the apartment, she said, ticking boxes. Split the proceeds. I don't want anything else from you. It's easier this way. My wedding ring, I asked, half joking. Do you want that too? You picked it. She looked at my hand, then at her own. Twist, twist, twist. She'd always played with her ring when she was nervous. I'm going to keep mine, she said, for now, until it feels right to take it off. That's rich, I said. You took it off plenty of times already. She flinched. That's not fair. Neither were the lies, I said. We told our families. My mum cried. Her mum was weirdly quiet. Relationships are complicated, her mum said on the phone, like someone reading from a script. Maybe this is for the best. It's not complicated, I said. She cheated, and now she's leaving. Anna yelled at me later for airing our dirty laundry, which I found funny, given how much of it she'd already aired in hotel rooms. Most of our mutual friends split down the middle. Some messaged me privately, variations of "we had no idea," and "we're here if you want to talk." Others kept posting heart emojis on Anna's new pictures from rooftop bars and captioned "new beginnings." A couple, the ones more aligned with her world, sent me vague texts about 2 sides to every story. I didn't have the energy to defend myself to people who clearly weren't interested in hearing my side. I moved out first. Technically, we agreed it made more sense for me to find somewhere sooner because her work schedule was insane and because she'd found the apartment originally. I packed my clothes, my books, my stupid spreadsheet templates saved on a USB. I left behind the couch, the dining table, the bed we'd finally replaced the wobbly one with. On my last night there, standing in the doorway of what used to be our bedroom, I looked at the indentation on my side of the bed and thought about all the versions of us that had existed in that room. The newlyweds who didn't own any matching furniture but thought love was enough. The exhausted professionals who fell asleep mid-conversation. The couple who fought and made up and thought therapy could glue over the cracks. Do you want me to help you with the boxes? Anna asked from the living room. No, I said, you've done enough. The line came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't take it back. Now I'm in a small, slightly damp-feeling unit across town. Living out of boxes, I haven't had the energy to unpack fully. There's a lone mattress on the floor because I haven't decided what bed I want yet. The walls are bare, except for a calendar my sister insisted on hanging so I don't forget the date and accidentally show up in court on the wrong day. I'm in individual therapy now. Turns out emotional crash from infidelity and unwanted divorce gets you bumped up the wait list. My therapist has kind eyes and a disarmingly gentle way of asking, and how did that make you feel? That actually makes me answer instead of shutting down. How did it make you feel when she said, "You'll thank me someday," she asked in our second session. So patronizing I almost threw up, I said, like she was casting herself as the hero in my story, like she genuinely believes blowing up our life is some kind of long-term favor. Do you believe there's any truth in that? She asked. Do you think someday you might look back and feel grateful in any way? I thought about the hotel key, about the way my stomach clenched every time Anna said she had a work trip, about the way my brain ran torture loops at 2 a.m., imagining conference rooms and bar tabs and late-night Uber rides. Maybe, I admitted quietly, not because of them, Not because they're meant to be or any of that bullshit, but because at least now I know. I don't have to live with that constant, low-level dread that something is off and I'm too scared to look at it. Freedom from uncertainty can feel like relief, even when the answer is painful, she said. Relief isn't the word I'd use yet. It's more like space, a terrifying amount of space where my life used to be sure, but also room to ask questions I'd never asked when I was busy keeping everything stable. Like, when did I start equating being a good husband with absorbing all the responsibility for someone else's emotional life? When did I decide my own needs, my need for honesty, for loyalty, for not feeling like a backup plan, were negotiable? I'm not excusing what Anna did, not even a little. She could have left before she cheated. She could have said, I want to separate instead of, I want another conference. She chose the path that gave her cake and let her eat it, until crumbs started showing up on our shared rug. But I am trying to understand how I stayed in a place where the signs were there, and I kept repainting them so they didn't clash with my picture of us. Sometimes I think about Mark, not in a I want to punch his lights out way, though I had that fantasy, I won't lie, but in a what kind of person sits across from a man at a restaurant, shakes his hand, and then sleeps with his wife in a hotel room the next week way. I wonder what story he tells himself, that their connection is special, that their spouses are obstacles, that life is short and he deserves to be happy. I ran into him once, actually, a few weeks ago. I was grabbing coffee near my new place and he walked in, suit on, phone pressed to his ear. For a second we both froze. Then he nodded, this tiny, almost apologetic tilt of his head, and changed his coffee order mid-sentence to something to go. He left before his name was even called. I stood there feeling strangely nothing. No adrenaline spike, no urge to throw a punch, no fantasy of delivering some perfect, devastating speech. Just tired. He's a coward, my mate Dan said later when I told him. Couldn't even look you in the eye properly. Yeah, I said, but I'm not his problem. His wife and kids are. As far as I know, he hasn't told them. Jess, the colleague, mentioned in passing that things are tense in his house, but that his wife doesn't know the full story. That's the slow-motion car crash, not mine. I got flung from the vehicle early, I guess. I don't know if Anna and Mark will last. Part of me honestly doesn't care. Another part, petty and human, hopes they don't, if only so she has to sit with the knowledge that she burned her life down for a man who wasn't worth the match. What I do know is that I'm not waiting around to see. My life is small right now. Work, therapy, microwave dinners, occasional beers with friends who don't ask me to rehash everything unless I clearly want to. I started running again, not because I'm training for anything, but because there's something hypnotic about putting one foot in front of the other and feeling my heart work for something other than heartbreak. I still think about her every day. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. I still wake up sometimes reaching for someone who isn't there. I still have moments where I smell her shampoo on a stranger and my chest aches. But that ache is slowly changing shape, from a raw, open wound to something more like a bruise, ugly, tender, but healing around the edges. Do you think you'll ever trust anyone again? My sister asked me recently, not unkindly. I want to, I said. I don't want this to be the thing that turns me into some bitter, suspicious cliché. I liked who I was before all this. I liked that I trusted people. I don't want to lose that forever just because one person weaponized it. You can be cautious without being closed off, my therapist says. Trust isn't about assuming people will never hurt you. It's about knowing that if they do, you'll survive it and still know who you are. Who I am is still something I'm figuring out without the husband label attached, without Anna and Tom as a unit, without her smirk and her hotel keys and her belief that she knows what's best for me better than I do. Will I ever thank her like she promised? I don't know. The idea still makes me want to roll my eyes hard enough to see my own brain. But maybe one day, when the paperwork is done and the apartment is sold, and our lives no longer intersect except as names on an old marriage certificate, I'll look at the version of myself I became because I had to survive this and think, you know what, I got myself here. Not her, not him, me. And maybe that will be enough.